Yeah, I think we'll be in a good spot for spring break. We shouldn't have to cram. But let's take a look at what we've got coming up. We'll talk about the plan for this week, and as we get closer to the next milestone presentation, kind of what we've got going on. Okay. So milestone 1, your project proposal is done. We are currently looking at milestone 2, which is the use case diagram and the requirements document. We looked at this last week as far as what it is specifically you need to include in the requirements document, which we went over with the SDLC. So if you want a refresher on this, go back and look at the SDLC as far as a list of functional and non-functional requirements. And then last time we looked at use case diagrams and descriptions. Did we finish this, or did we only get halfway through? I don't remember. None of us are sure. I think we finished it. Yes, we finished it because we talked about the use case diagram for that referral system. Okay, so that kind of wraps up this as far as use case. And if we go back to assignments, you guys, we have now covered everything you need to know for milestone 2. Okay, so we are good here. Make sure you look at this. This isn't due until March 10th. I believe it says March 10th. Yeah, March 10th. It's not due until March 10th. So you have a couple weeks. And so this is basically due the week after spring break. And so I want to give you guys plenty of time to work on your projects. That's where you're going to do most of your learning this semester. Covering this stuff is important, but where you're going to learn the most is actually digging into the code to create these projects. And so I want to make sure that you are spending sufficient time with that, which is why I have those working class days where I am here and you are in class working on your projects, and I'm here to answer questions. Okay, that's the purpose of that. We don't need this group. I don't know why this exists. Okay. So that takes us back to modules. You want to also make sure you have taken the quiz 3 on UML and use cases. Just a few questions on that. Make sure you don't let that sneak up on you. It is due March 10th, and I do have these things spread out. Don't let the due dates fool you. Don't think, oh, I don't need to take it until then. We have covered everything you need to know to take the quiz. So I would say go ahead and take it now. You'll also notice that we don't have a ton of other stuff left. We do have class diagrams and we do have activity diagrams, but I did want to leave some time open to go back into that meal maker project to go through some things in the event that you guys need a little bit of extra refresher on some maybe object-oriented concepts. You guys wanted to take a look at how the project was set up as far as how the classes relate to one another. And I also wanted to leave some class periods open to explore topics that were important for the projects that were selected this semester. And so, for example, the reason I don't just say, okay, these are the 15 topics that we're going to cover is because I want to make sure whatever we're covering in class is relevant to what it is that you are doing. Because you can pick any topic you want the information that you need in order to tackle those topics isn't always going to be the same from semester to semester. And so I want to leave some flexibility there with regard to the content that we cover to make sure that it is relevant for the projects that you guys are doing. Does that make sense? Let me know if it doesn't. Okay, so I need you guys to talk to me real quick about where we are. I don't necessarily want to start class diagrams today, because that gets into a little bit of our next milestone, which is class diagrams. And so we can do a couple different things here. And I tried to preface that with what I just said a minute ago about topics changing and wanting to make sure this is relevant for you guys. So here's what I need from you. One, are there any programming concepts, topics that you are kind of struggling with regard to the project you have selected? So we can look at more input output, writing to files. I could show you a way to encrypt when you are saving to files. Are you struggling with how to set up your project? Like, what I want to make sure this is beneficial for you. So that's the first thing. I want to kind of know if there are any topics that you guys are struggling with in your own personal projects. And two, wanted to see how you guys felt about use cases. We could go ahead and create a use case diagram for that meal maker project and get back into that. But I want to do what's going to be most beneficial for you guys. So talk to me about where you are. You can unmute yourself. You don't have to type in chat, whatever's easier.
I would say the use case diagram is pretty useful. I haven't done a UML diagram since like forever. I think since my sequel, maybe if not before then.
Okay. Who else?
Yeah, that use case diagram probably. I think that's probably something I want to learn about today.
Okay. All right. Well, let's do that. So let's do two things. I'm going to go back to modules, and I am going to pull up the topic outline. And let's kind of go back through this. We did do this last week, but let me hit the high points for what is included in a use case diagram, and then we can do a sample one for the meal maker. And you'll see kind of it's more of a basic setup for that one. And I'll show you some variations on how it can be done. Okay, so use case diagram has really three things to it. It has, and these are some examples here. Let's go down to this one at the bottom. It has three things. The first are the actors. Okay, the actors are my drawing tool. The actors are the people that interact with the system. So in this situation, we have an admin, an email system, and a teacher. Okay, those are the entities that can interact with the program itself. Okay, the second part are the use cases, and the use cases are essentially the things that the actors can do inside of the system. Okay, so those are these things. And notice we have lines connecting the actors to the use cases. So that tells us which use cases the actors can interact with. So teachers can view the list of referrals, administrators can view the list of referrals, but administrators cannot create the referrals. There's no line going here. Okay, so The lines show the relationship between the actors and the use cases. Okay, so 2 parts so far. First part, we have actors. I'm not going to do that. First part, we have actors. Second part, we have use cases. In the third part, which we don't see shown here, are written descriptions of each interaction. Okay. And a written description is simply a sentence describing each of the connections between actors and use cases. And so, for example, it might look something like this. And you can do it in numbered, ordered list. You can do it in an unordered list where it's just like this. It doesn't matter. Okay, so we could be teachers can create referrals. Teachers and admins can view the list of created referrals. Okay, and so here I've typed 2 sentences. The first describes this relationship. I'm sorry. The first describes, I wish there were hotkeys for these controls. The first describes this right here. Okay. The second describes this right here. And it's fine to group them together. If you wrote teachers can view the list of created referrals, and then number 3 was administrators can view the list of created referrals, that's fine too. You don't have to necessarily group them into one. Okay. So that's the basic of use case diagrams. It has all 3 components: actors, who are on the outside, use cases, which are on the inside, and then written descriptions describing how the 2 interact. Okay. All right. Let's go back up and let's talk about includes and extends, because here we see examples of include, here we see examples of extend, here we see examples of include. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that yours must have includes or extends. It's possible yours has both. It's possible yours only has one. It's also possible that yours doesn't have any. And so you have to just take a look at what yours does. When I say yours, I'm talking about your program, and make the decision about what you need. Okay, so let's come down here, excuse me, and take a look at the use of extends and includes and what the difference is. So includes is where we are reusing functionality, and that is a dependency on another use case. So if we come down here and look at this, here, when we create a referral, so when a teacher goes in, a student has done something really bad and they need to be written up, they will go in and create a referral, which automatically includes printing the referral. Okay, so when you have an action that automatically includes another use case, so let me rephrase that. Whenever you have a use case that automatically evokes or fires off another use case, that is when using includes makes sense. Okay, we are reusing a functionality that already exists. Okay, notice teachers can go in separately and print a referral. That can happen later, but when a referral is created, it's automatically printed. Okay, that's what includes means. It's whenever you have a situation where another use case gets executed or run whenever the first one runs. Okay, so creating referral automatically includes printing a referral. On the administrator side, assigning a consequence, so they go in and view the list, assigning a consequence automatically will notify the teacher that a consequence has been assigned for the referral. Okay, Now, let me ask you a question. Why is there not an includes here? Why don't we do this? Anybody? Anybody? Bueller? Well, they are separate. So let's go back to the definition of when we use includes. Includes is used whenever the use of a particular use case automatically includes the use of another use case. So you can't execute one use case without another one also being executed. Okay, again, when we look at the example, whenever a teacher creates a referral, it automatically will print the referral. Okay, the print referral is included in the process of creating the referral. The reason we separate it is because teachers can separately go in and print referrals. Same thing with assigning consequence. Administrators can assign a consequence to a referral that has been created. And when they do that, it automatically includes notifying the teacher. Okay. But notifying the teacher is also something that can be done separately. And so it's necessary to separate these two use cases, just like it's necessary to separate these two use cases, because the use cases down here can be done separately apart from the ones above. But whenever the ones above are done, they automatically include the bottom ones, meaning you can't assign a consequence without also notifying the teacher. You can't create a referral without automatically printing the referral. And so with that knowledge, why do we not, get my eraser, why do we not have an includes right here? Yes, they are separate, but what about the relationship between the two of them?
I think the only reason why we don't have an include there is because, like you said before, that means that if we do like create a view list, that does that mean that we'll automatically have to create like the assignment, the assign a consequence, and notifying a teacher once
That's exactly right. Yeah, and I think Zach said the same thing in chat. You can view the list without assigning a consequence. So administrators can go in, teachers can go in and just, I want to see, what my workload is like. Maybe the administrator goes in and says, all right, let me see how many referrals were created today, but they might not decide at that time to do anything with them. Okay. They might get to it later that day. They might get to it tomorrow. But when they choose to assign the consequence, that automatically is going to notify the teacher. Okay, so that's the reason. When the administrator views the list, they aren't automatically required to assign a consequence. That's why it doesn't say includes. Okay. All right, so that's what includes. Let's take a look at extends. Okay, so this is, again, the reuse of functionality. We are reusing print referral and we are reusing notify teacher as a part of these two. All right, it's a reuse of functionality. Extends is going to add on functionality. Okay, extends denotes either adding new features or adding optional features. And so typically the way this is done is you can view extends similar to the way that we use inheritance in object-oriented programming. You create a special relationship, or it's a specialized version of something. And this example up here illustrates that pretty well. And so let's take a look at this. We have a basic use case diagram where we have a customer as the actor, and a customer can place an order. Now, an order would be our parent class or our super class. So parent class is order. Okay, and then we have two specialized, and again, this is just the analogy. We would, instead of parent class, you could think of it as like a parent use case. Okay, and then we have two specialized use cases, which are special order and normal order. Okay, and these extend order. And so what it is special orders are orders and normal orders are orders. But there must be special actions that happen in this one and this one that aren't shared between the two. Okay, and that's the idea with extends. It's like when one process starts and you have like a fork and say, okay, we're starting the order process and we're going to do one of three things. Okay, automatically, one of those three things has to happen. And what happens is an extension of the first thing. That's a situation where you use extends. Okay, when the actions are based off of a specialized or a generic type, and we are specializing what happens down here. Okay. Questions on extends? Okay, so let us clear out of this. Okay, and then here's what I want to do. Let me pull up our meal maker program. Okay, I'm going to briefly run through this. I know you guys have seen this a while, but what we're going to do here is we're going to create a use case diagram for the meal maker program. And so I'm going to just kind of walk through the capabilities so that you guys can see what it is that get a refresher on the capabilities of the program. Okay, so start it. And here's the idea. We have side items that we can create. We have meals that we can create, and then we have a calendar that we can create. Okay, meals are made up of a main course and sides. Okay, side items are just a list of sides that that can be created. Okay, so we've done this before. You can go in, add a new side. So this is, we could say old grass clippings. That's a good side. Okay, so we have old grass clippings. So we can add a new side, we can remove a side. And then for meals, we can add a meal. So this could be roadkill. Roadkill gets two sides. We don't want to have it very often. And roadkill goes great with asparagus, green beans, old grass clippings, potato chips, and garlic bread. Those are acceptable sides for roadkill. So we're going to hit accept, and now we get roadkill. You can also go in and edit a meal. So I select roadkill and I click edit meal and be like, you know what? I totally forgot. Sour gummy worms also goes really well with roadkill. So we'll add that onto there as well. So you can edit a meal. You can also remove a meal. Okay, so I'm going to remove tacos because we already have tacos or nachos. Okay, it's kind of the same thing. So I'm just going to click remove meal. So you can add, edit, or remove meals. And now I'm going to go into meal calendar. Okay, now I'm going to click generate new calendar. This is something you can do. You can generate a new calendar. And what this does is this essentially randomizes the meals that we have selected using the frequency that has been set. Okay, and so you can look, we don't have roadkill on here very often because we set the frequency low. If I go back and go into meals and be like, you know what, we actually love roadkill, let me bump the frequency up to 10 and then go into meal calendar and generate a new one. We should have roadkill on here more often. Okay, let me randomize a little bit. So roadkill. I only see it twice. I guess it's a function of how many other ones we have. Either way, we can generate a new calendar. If we select a meal, we can generate a new meal. If we like, oh, perfect, I definitely want roadkill on Friday, but you know what? I don't think asparagus and sour gummy worms goes very well together. So I'm just going to get new sides. Perfect. Green bean and garlic bread. That's perfect. Okay. Don't worry about the editing the special events. Let's keep that kind of, we don't want to keep our chart too crazy. And so that's what we've got. Essentially those three things. Side items, you can add and remove side items. Meals, you can add, edit, and remove. And meal calendar. So I'm going to kind of write them over here. So for, you can add side items, you can remove side items, you can add meals, you can edit meals, you can remove meals. And for the meal calendars, you can generate new calendar, you can generate new meal, and you can generate new sides. Okay. How difficult is it to code a calendar in Java? I don't know. There's probably a plugin for it, honestly. I don't know. Okay. Now, here is, well, that's very difficult to read. Really? Let's see this way. Make it a little easier for you to read. So you can still see the menu. Now, here is one thing that I do want to cover. If you notice, how many actors do we have? If you had to guess, how many actors are involved with this use case diagram? How many actors? Yes. If you were going to draw this use case diagram, how many actors? Jonathan says 1. Zach says 1. Everybody else asleep. I guess so. All right. With what we've described, 1 is accurate. Okay. Because there's really no other way to interact with this program. There is one other thing that I want to point out. Okay. And the way this is set up, it's set up for someone to be able to come in and set this up to start. Okay. And so if you really know what you're doing, you can go in here and edit these files manually. Okay, so you could come in here and specifically edit these text files. If you wanted to come in and all at once add a bunch of sides, you could do that here. You could just type into them. And so in an advanced setup to this use case diagram, you could add in like a specialized user or maybe a technician. I don't know, an admin would really be the right description there, but somebody could go in and actually edit the text files. Let's not do that yet. Let's see if we have time to get that to the end. What I want you to do is I want you to take 5 minutes on your own and draw out the use case diagram for what we have covered so far. So it's got the meal calendar and everything you can do there. It's got the meal menu and everything you can do there, and the side items menu and everything you can do there. So let's break for 5 minutes, and then we'll come back and go over this and see what everyone's got. Okay, so I'll leave this screen up and let's check back. It's 9:05. Let's check back at 9:10. I'm going to go grab something to drink. I'll be back in just a second. Y'all work on this. Any questions? I'll give you guys a couple more minutes. All right, do y'all need another minute or are you good? All right, take your time. Give you guys a few more minutes. All right, we'll go till 9:15 and then we'll cover this stuff. Okie dokie. Well, let's go over this. Now, I've said this before. It's important to remember and understand that there are some variations with how these can be set up. So I'm going to kind of set this up, and this one's actually going to be really basic. And one of the reasons I think it's good that we're doing this is because there's oftentimes this fear that what you are doing with your use case diagram is too basic for it to be correct. Like you feel like you need to be doing more in it than you actually are. And you might have just a really basic system where it's like one actor and there's like 6 things that he can do and that's it. And so don't feel like yours is wrong simply because it is basic. Okay, so I am going to, let's do this. I'm going to pull up just a blank thing here. And draw. All right, so we have an actor. Well, I'm not going to use red. Let's use blue. We have an actor. Our actor is happy. And it's got spiky hair. Maybe it's a mullet. It's a sweet mullet. In case you were wondering, I don't do the artwork for the games I create. This is why. So what do we call our actor? What do we want to call him? Or her? Bob. Well, like, in terms of categorically, what Bob and Chad, what is the actor like? What category of the actor? Like, how would we describe the actor that's interacting? Who would use this system? User. Okay, yeah, and you can, generally speaking, if it's just a random person, user is fine. Okay, so we'll say this is user. Okay, now let us draw our area here. I don't know exactly how big we're going to need this, so I'm going to make it big. Okay, there's our area. And generally, the best thing to do is go ahead and list out the things that need to be done. Okay, and I've got that here where you can kind of see it. And you can get as technical with this as you want. Okay, and so it's important to kind of think big picture how this is done. Okay, and here's kind of what I mean. We have really one person that is interacting with this, but depending on how the system is actually coded, it's possible that we have multiple users, multiple agents, or actors. And for that, I mean, if we had, maybe this was some sort of online database system, and we used some sort of third-party entity to actually write to the database. In that situation, having another actor that was responsible for updating the database in a similar way that we had an external actor that was responsible for sending emails would be appropriate. However, everything is self-contained inside of this program. And so it's not really necessary to have a separate actor that's responsible for reading and writing from this meal and side item database that we are creating. But out of curiosity, did any of you create a second actor or a third actor in your use case diagram that you did? I know everyone's just with the single one. Okay, and again, that's totally fine. That is totally fine. And the reason it's totally fine in this situation is because everything is self-contained within this program. We aren't using another entity to actually write to the database. If we were, then that would be necessary. And I'll kind of talk through what that might look like if that's what we did. Okay, so this is going to be pretty simple. Okay, we've got, I'm going to create some of these. So here we'll do add side item, and we have remove side item. Now, both of these can be done by our user. Users can add side item and they can remove side items. Is this how you guys have it set up? All right, Zach, you want to share how you have it set up? Because you said this is not how you've got yours. You don't have it that way either. Okay. Let's see how you guys have it. Zach, let me make you. Zach or Alex, do you guys want to describe it or you want to show what you did? I don't know if you drew it on paper or did it on your computer, or you want to just. All right, you guys want to just type out in chat how you have it different? Because there are other ways to do this. That's what I was thinking you guys might do as well, which is totally good. All right, so here is kind of what they're describing. And Alex, let me know if you have a similar thing to that. So what they've got is a situation like this. Maybe like open side item menu. Okay, or it could be something like you could just have side items, or you could have interact with side items or view side items. Okay, that's either of those is fine. Okay, now users can view side items. This would essentially be the equivalent of opening that side items menu. And then from here, you might have something like this. Where this extends, and then inside of this we have add side item and remove side item. Is that more along the lines of what you guys have? Okay. This is also good. So again, it wouldn't have necessarily been wrong to do the first thing. So the first way that I drew it, that wasn't necessarily wrong, but this is a more descriptive way. This is a more precise way of identifying the way in which the user interacts with this. Okay, it lets them see, okay, we can view the side items, and then as an extension of viewing them, we can add and remove them. Okay, now the reason this is extends, and the reason this extends is because we are adding on functionality. Okay, and this is fine. You can do this. Extends is a little bit like includes. There's a little bit of gray area around it, and it's sometimes difficult to understand. The way that we initially talked about extending is when you have kind of a specialized type of action that you are doing, and it kind of can split into one or more specialized. So you have, let me rephrase, you have a generic action, And then it splits into more specialized things that can be done from there, which is kind of what we're doing here. So I would agree that extends applies to this situation. Okay, so based off of this, we're going to do something very similar to our meals. Okay, we've got meals, and then there are 3 things that we can do with our meals. Okay, we're going to run out of room if we do it like this. 1 here, 1 here, 1 here. All right, and what we have is now we can view meals. And so our user can view meals. They can also, from view meals, do 3 things. We can add meals, we can edit meals, and we can remove meals. Now, would this also be extends? Would you also put extends here? Yes, I'm just going to abbreviate E for lack of space. Yes, I would agree. Extends is appropriate. And this is literally the same thing that we're doing up here. All right, so viewing meals, and then it extends out of that. Now, finally, we have down here, which is view calendar. Now, when you click on view calendar, it automatically is going to generate a new calendar. Okay, I don't know if I specified that. I wish I could like hide this. Can I hide this temporarily? I think I can clear it and then go back. I hope so. So, for example, if I go into meal calendar, so we have corned beef and then spaghetti. And then if I go back, see how it automatically generates a new one every time we go in? And so this is going to give us some cool interaction for our use case diagram. Let me show you what I mean. So when we view the calendar, this is going to automatically include generating a new calendar. Okay, again, the reason we have includes is because we cannot view the calendar without also generating a new one. When we go into view calendar, it automatically generates a new one. That's why we have includes there. Okay. Now, you could make the argument that you also need extends, and that is, I would just leave it as is. I would just leave it as includes. Although if you wanted to be descriptive and consistent, you could draw a second line that also says extends. Okay, and what this shows is when you view a calendar, it automatically includes generating a new one, but an extension of viewing a calendar is also the option of generating a new calendar. Okay, that's kind of what that signifies. It's going to do it automatically the first time, but then you can also go in and continue to do it over and over again, like as a repeated action. Okay. And then we also have I know we're kind of running out of room. This would normally be included inside of here, but I'm going to show you how this works. Okay. So here we have select meal. And so when we view the calendar, we can also select a meal. And this is an extension of that. And when we select a meal, there are 2 things that we can do that are extensions of that. And this is where we can generate new meal and generate new sides. And these would be extensions. They're not required, but they can be done. Okay. Now, the idea with this is we look at this and we have a really good idea of all of the capabilities of the program simply by looking at this diagram. Now, here's my suggestion when you're actually creating this. Do it like I just did right now. And then once you kind of have everything on paper, then reorganize it so that it's a little bit easier to read. Okay, and this isn't terrible. We just ran out of room down here. So I would kind of take this section here and move this back this way. I'll move this up a little bit just so that we can fit everything on here. Okay, but it's kind of like a flow chart, yes, but what we're doing is we're not really showing a flow of activity. That's more for the activity diagram, which we will get to near the end of the semester. This is more showing what a particular actor, in this case a user, has the ability to do inside of the program. Okay, and so as we read this, okay, so we've done the actor, that's part one. We've done the use case, that's part two. Part three would be putting out those descriptions. Okay, and so if we were going to do a description, we would say something like, users can view the meal calendar. Viewing the meal calendar automatically includes generating a new calendar. Users, as an extension of viewing the calendar, can also generate as many new calendars as they want. Another extension to viewing the calendar is selecting one of the meals displayed in the calendar. From there, users can generate a new meal as an extension of selecting it, and they can generate new sides as an extension of selecting it. Okay, so the description that I just gave you there would be good descriptions for this section down here. Notice how I used language similar to what is represented with includes and extends. And I gave a little bit more information than may be initially visible just by viewing the use case diagram. That's the purpose of the description. It's like maybe you look at this particular section and you're like, I'm not sure what that means. Why do we have two lines going here? One says includes, one says extends. Let me go read the description. And the description says, when a user views the calendar, it automatically includes generating a new calendar. But as an extension of viewing the calendar, users also have the option to generate as many new calendars as they want. So that description right there explains this somewhat complicated interaction. Does that make sense to you guys? Okay. And then you would go and do the rest with this, the rest with this, and the rest with this. Okay. And again, there are different ways to show these relationships. I think this is a good one. I think how you guys had it set up with doing the extends is good. Because it provides a little bit more understanding with the relationship of how these windows and options are set up. Okay, I think that's going to wrap it up for us. Do you guys have any questions on this? Can I answer any questions?
So I don't exactly have any questions on this particularly, but like more on the project itself that we're going to be doing.
Yeah, hang on one second. Let me see if there are any questions on this. If not, I'll get to your question.
All right.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on use case diagrams? Okay. Stone, if your question is specific about your project, then everyone else is free to go. I will make sure this video gets posted to Canvas. If anyone else has any questions, you're also welcome to stick around. Otherwise, I will see you guys. Well, I won't see you guys for a while. Again, let's do. Hang on one second. Stop sharing, and we don't need to record anymore.